Crypto airdrops have been one of the most lucrative opportunities in the entire space over the past couple of months. And if you've been watching my airdrop videos for a little while, you most likely would have already hit it very big on a new airdrop that was announced, I believe just yesterday, that will go live tomorrow. It is called Ether.fi. Some of the bigger whales made tens of millions of dollars, and some people that went in with, let's say, $50 or so, I believe still made $100, if not more, for something that was extremely simple to do, as I made 2 full guides on it. Having said that, today I'll be showing you a couple other protocols that I'm farming right now that might eventually decide to go for an airdrop, which could be extremely lucrative. I personally think I'll be raking in 7 figures from these airdrops over the next, let's say, 12 months. And the nicest part about it, some of these are completely free. Just take a look and make sure you press that like button. And of course, let me know down below if you've already made some money on some airdrops, because that would be pretty amazing. Now, before we move on, I'll leave links to all of these different farming websites in the description or in the comment section down below, because if you're gonna look for it over on the internet, you might get scammed. You might press the wrong link or something. So the first one that we've got is called 𝗓𝗓𝗏, who claim to be building the data layer of AI. 𝗓𝗏 is the first ever layer 2 data rollup. We're preparing to change AI forever with an L2 that can process 1 million transactions per second and settle them on Solana. And simply put, how it works is you go to the link in the description down below, and I believe you might have to download their extension. And on their website, it'll have a button to register. Here's what the extension looks like. By the way, it's called 𝗓𝗏 extension. But anyway, once you open that up, and for some reason my connection is not working right now, but once you open it up, it'll basically want to attach to your internet connection, which is something you might want to do or you might want to skip. Again, in this case here, you're basically using your data, your internet, as the currency for potentially getting a free airdrop in the future. Please do your own due diligence and see if the risks / privacy issue is something you're comfortable with. But anyway, you basically just connect it to your internet and it'll start accruing points. The more networks that you connect, the more points you're going to be getting. And in this little overview, you normally see how many points you're getting every single day for letting it basically get access to your internet. Because theoretically speaking, you're just operating as some sort of node and you're getting rewarded for that by getting points, which eventually may or may not be worth something. And having said that, if you followed my previous guide, and I'll put up a video more specifically on this because of the amount of money that this is going to reward people. But if you were actually staking on Ether.fi, you actually have to go ahead and press this button right here, check airdrop eligibility, and then you can either connect your wallet or search for an address. I personally recommend to always press search for an address instead of pressing connect your wallet, just to make sure. And in there at the bottom, if you scroll all the way down, you'll see how many ETH.fi you're going to be rewarded. The expectation is that it's going to be around $5 per ETH.fi, but perhaps it's going to be 6, perhaps 7. We don't know just quite yet, but that's the expectation right now. And so if you got yourself 5,000 ETH.fi, for example, could be $25,000. But perhaps the number doesn't show yet because they're still figuring out exactly how much everybody should get because they want to reward smaller users even more. And again, every single person that followed my previous tutorial is going to be eligible for this airdrop. So congratulations to you. And why am I sitting like this? I don't know. Airdrop number 2, I've already made a full-on video about because it's just that simple. And it's if you've got Solana, you might want to lend it out. I personally say make sure your Solana is now staked because that way you're getting an APY on it, but then also make sure that you're lending it out, partially because you can get a slight multiplier on it, slightly, but hey, but most importantly because that way you can accrue points. And here's, for example, one of my accounts with 3.7 million points. We don't know exactly how much this will be worth in the future, if anything, but how you get it is as follows. First of all, you connect your Phantom wallet or Backpack or whatever wallet you've got your Solana on. If you don't know how to do that, make sure you check out my previous tutorials because in there, I go more into how to set up a wallet. But long story short, get yourself the Phantom wallet, get yourself some Solana on there, and then go to the link in the description down below. And now here's where you get some choices. Depending on what you're comfortable with, you can either go ahead and switch over Solana, which after you connect your wallet, you'll see in here, to 𝗬𝗀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 𝗕𝗁, and there's quite a couple of options. But the way I see it is you basically have got the options you see at the top right here. JITOSOL, 𝗕𝗁, 𝗬𝗁, or potentially LST. If you do 𝗕𝗁, you might get yourself some of these additional rewards. Let's quickly see. You get yourself some Blaze as a reward. If you do 𝗬𝗁, you might get some Marinade rewards. And if you do LST, you get yourself the basically higher percentage for the liquid staking. So there's different benefits and different annoying parts about it. Similarly with the weight, because the idea is you're going to lend out a certain amount of money where you can also borrow some more. Well, let me take a step back. With a lot of these protocols, the idea is as follows. If you lend out money, you get, let's say, 1 point per dollar. If you borrow money, you get, let's say, 4 points per dollar. So you basically don't even want to really lend out, you just want to borrow. But to borrow, there's a cost. And so to make sure that it's worth it and basically free, some people, they don't make it free, they actually pay for the points, because that way they can hopefully farm millions of points. If they have to pay $10,000 to get way more points, that might be worth like 100,000, so it's worth it to them. There are NFT farmers out there, even one of my friends, who rakes up millions of dollars in losses to get more points because he's expecting those points to be worth even more millions of dollars, and thus far it's worked out great for him. Now, in no way, shape, or form am I telling you guys to go do that. I'm just saying there are a lot of options, but more importantly, people just want to get these points because they might be worth money in the future. And the reason I say might is because the moment that a protocol says, yep, these will be worth money, is when you as an individual, and not a big whale, can't win anymore. And so they're always vague, saying, it's just a measure for us to do but 9 out of 10 times, if they've got point systems, at some point in the future, the people interacting will be rewarded. We just don't know to what extent, we don't know exactly what type of system, but you got to understand as well, if they said, yep, every single person who has a point will get some free airdrop, there's going to be thousands of people who turn on their bot farms to get thousands of accounts, or they'll just try to find out how to get the maximum out of it. And if they're being vague, sometimes the risk to reward for doing that is not worth it. There's people doing it still because they expect it, but since it's not a certainty, you don't know if you're going to have to pay for all these bots for a year or for 1 month, and whether or not it'll have a very, very high standard or very low, you don't know. Getting back to it. Let's say you lend out, for example, $1,000 worth of LST, right? So let's say it's 5 LST-ish, 4 or 5 LST. You can now go ahead and borrow a certain amount of Solana, because if you think about it, the LST has it's not loading for some reason, seems to be a trend today, but let's say the LST has a APY of 8%. If you deposit it, you get 8% plus 0.02, and to borrow Solana is 6.6, meaning you're profiting a 1.4-ish% difference. So this Solana then that you're borrowing now against your collateral that you put up, you can actually again turn into LST. You can basically stake it again to make sure that every single Solana you borrow that you're paying a percentage for, you can get a higher yield for. Again, this is just some advanced tactics to maximize the amount of money you're getting from this. Some people, they don't actually borrow anything at all, as you can see right here. Some people just like to deposit USDC, for example. Some people really maximize the borrowing, as you can see right here, relative to their deposits. It all depends on your personal strategy, but I think this is going to be one of the best airdrops to farm because it's quite easy and it's on Solana, so fees are cheap. Talking about cheap fees, this one ain't it. The project I'm talking about here is called BounceBit. And even though this, I think, again, is something that's going to launch relatively soon with potentially a massive free airdrop, I'll tell you straight up, there's a very limited amount of invite codes. And I highly recommend you to not use a code if you're not going to actually put in money. And when I say put in money, I mean put at least, I'm going to say $1,000 or so in. Otherwise, it just ain't worth it, which is the case for most Ethereum-based protocols or Bitcoin-based protocols. Solana or all these layer 2s, you can do with $7. With Bitcoin or Ethereum, If you're doing it with $7, you'll probably end up paying more in fees. But in this case here, I'm trying to give these codes to people who really want to use it to the best of their ability, and I just don't have an infinite amount. So please don't use the code unless you're actually going to deposit something, so somebody else can use it. So the idea with BounceBit is basically that you can restake your Bitcoin, and after depositing money, you basically have these little claims, and if you press the little claim button, you'll see how many points you get, and hopefully these points will eventually be worth something. And I believe the more BTC that you've got locked in this, which can just be wrapped Bitcoin on Ethereum, the more points you'll also be gaining. And there's also quests for the crew, which is why I said only use the link if you're actually going to deposit something. But I just saved up a couple of different claims here, so you can see I got myself, let's say, 1,000 points or so. And to get more, I can either invite friends or deposit even more. But pressing invite now, I only get 6 codes, and once those are filled, I think we have to deposit at least 0.1 Bitcoin in total. So let's say about $1,000 per person. Otherwise, I might not get new codes. I don't know for sure because I've not invited anybody yet. But that's why I said don't use the code unless you're trying to actually go for it. But you only basically get more codes the moment that your teammates have completed the threshold, which is 0.1 Bitcoin at the start. So it's a team game, so don't mess up because you basically get boosts for, so it's just pretty cool stuff. But it's all based on just depositing a certain amount of Bitcoin for right now on the BNB chain or Ethereum. And as you can see, it's like wrap Bitcoin or a couple of other coins that you can actually do also. And the kicker here is just like with Blast, that the withdrawals are not available yet. So that is the risk, that is the kicker. So don't put in what you're not affording to or able to lose, obviously. But it's something I'm farming a bit as well, because sometimes you only put $1,000 in, for example, and the airdrop is also $1,000. It's happened on Arbitrum. I think some people got $6,000 or maybe even $20,000 worth of an airdrop for doing things with a couple $100s, for example. You just don't know how crazy things can get, so it's always worth, in my opinion, to try multiple different things. And one thing I'll tell you straight away is that there are more of these airdrop opportunities coming up nearly every single day. For example, I know that Trailblaze is also doing a very cool airdrop of sorts. I saw Box Mining announce it a little while back. And sometimes it can be completely free after getting yourself a paid or sometimes free NFT. For example, Mighty Labs here, the DAO behind it, said all Mighty Labs DAO NFT holders can expect an airdrop of Blaze, the native token of Trailblaze. Mint your Pioneer NFT now. Some other benefits are staking on Trailblaze for multiplier, yada, yada, yada. But we've had it many times before that people who just get themselves an NFT get, you know, maybe 10, maybe a couple $100 worth of a free airdrop. It's actually been so that some people have gotten $1,700, $2,000, $2,500, even $5,000 for absolutely free. And I think the craziest one I've heard might be $23,000 or so. Don't expect it, but I'm saying it's possible. There are just many benefits to being somewhere early, which is why I recommended you guys to start testnet farming, which is basically where you spend time to learn a lot about crypto stuff on, you know, a fake blockchain. Really, well, it's a real blockchain, but it's not with actual money. Because if you're doing that with a lot of these projects, they might reward you something in the end, which sometimes is nothing, sometimes is a couple tens of dollars, sometimes a couple hundred, sometimes a couple thousand. But more importantly, you're learning how it works, you're interacting with all these protocols, and every single drop you get here and there might be multiplied over time. Because with projects like Celestia, if you got the airdrop and you held it, you might have actually gotten more airdrops in the future, which would have basically doubled, tripled, quadrupled your rewards, especially because the airdrop token might go from $2 a coin to $20 a coin, like happened with Celestia. Or let's say you had yourself a $5,000 airdrop, which is pretty cool. Now imagine that the price of that token goes times 10, and so instead of a $5,000 airdrop, you now get yourself a $50,000 airdrop. And by the way, with regards to Ether.fi, if you're somebody that has some spare Ethereum laying around, it's very simple to get the hang of how this one works. But right now, these Ether.fi loyalty points are obviously what gets you the airdrop, right? But I've left the link down below. Because right now, you can actually still just stake your Ethereum, or at least swap it to ETH, and get yourself eigenlayer points, which I believe will be the biggest airdrop in crypto history. They're still trying to be vague about it, but I believe it will at some point happen. And so even though you're too late now to try for Ether.fi Season 1, they will be doing a Season 2 where people who are still staking will be rewarded in the future. But more importantly, you can also do it to get yourself these eigenlayer points, which will also probably be worth a ton. I mean, right now as it stands, eigenlayer points are going for for like 20 cents each. So this person who picked up 200,000 of them made himself $40,000 basically by just farming the Eigenlayer airdrop. That's based on speculation, right? It doesn't have any real value yet, it's just people speculating. But usually people are pretty good at indicating value, and a lot of these guys wouldn't sell it, or sorry guys, a lot of people wouldn't buy it if they didn't expect the points to be worth even more. Anyway, I don't want to make this video too long, but I've got way more. I'm talking like 20 more opportunities, of which a lot of them are completely free, but to make those videos takes a lot of time. If you guys want a part 2, another airdrop guide on some of the airdrops I'm farming right now, matter of fact, I can even probably get a professional airdrop farmer on the channel here, or at least get him to write some stuff for me down. Let me know by pressing that like button, and just let me know down below that you'd like to see it. Again, I'll leave some codes for these websites in the descriptions down below, or perhaps in the comments. For BounceBit, I have to keep updating it. And yeah, all I'll say is good luck farming, and make sure you claim yourself your Ether.fi airdrop, because if you don't, it'll go back into treasury. So don't wait too long. Yeah, that's about it.